American democracy has existed for nearly 250 years and has relied on the people to be engaged in it to exist. And yet, only 9 states require a full school year of civics education. This video aims to help people understand the basics of legislation and raise awareness as to how things are done in the houses of government. We will start by touching on definitions and the roles relevant to the topic, then move on to the major motions, and finally a full-fledged example of how everything works. Roles and definitions. Pro tempore. Pro tempore, or pro tem, a Latin term meaning for the time being. The chair has the ability to temporarily transfer their power to any member of the assembly. This is most commonly used in the US Senate, with the vice president typically yielding power to the longest-serving member of their party. Assembly. A general term referring to city councils, county boards, along with state and federal congresses, basically any legislative gathering. Proposal. Simplified version of a bill or resolution, just for the sake of simplicity in this video. The chair. The chair is arguably the most important and generally the most powerful member of the assembly. They lead the assembly during the session. This role is often filled by mayors, county chairpersons, lieutenant governors for the state senate, speakers of the House, both at the state and federal level, and vice president of the United States for the US Senate, although it is usually filled by the president pro tempore. The chair has the ability to give the floor to the members of the assembly. They largely stand as a mediator, ensuring that the assembly remains in order. Sergeant at Arms. The sergeant at arms keeps both order and security when in the chamber. This can mean either dealing with a threat or removing members who are being disruptive during the assembly. This role can be filled by the police chief of a city, sheriff of a county, or an elected official of the House or Senate at the state and federal level. Recorder. This role is used to keep the assembly on track, recording any action taken by the assembly and ensuring legislation is not lost in the sauce. The recorder writes down any proposals, such as 10 a.m., bill introduced to blank. General attendees. For the purpose of this video, this will mean everyone else in the assembly. However, this can mean city council members, county board members, state and federal senators, along with state and federal representatives. It can also mean, in very rare cases if at all, direct democracy by the people. Given that the United States is a representative democracy, or republic, instances of direct democracy outside of initiatives and referendums is almost unheard of in the current day. Types of motions and how to use them. Before making any motion, you must first address the chair by raising your hand and saying, "Mr. and Mrs. Chair, may I have the floor?" The chair will then say, "You have the floor," or "You do not have the floor." Should you be granted the floor, you have permission to speak and the recorder will write down any motion you use. If you are not recognized by the chair, you will not have permission to speak and thus whatever you say cannot be written down or voted upon. When speaking, you must say, "I move" for any motion. It is not "I motion" or "I motion to move." It is simply "I move, insert motion here." Finally, for almost every motion, another member of the assembly must say, "I second the motion," or simply "second." With that out of the way, let's talk about the main motions one might use in a session. Proposal. As stated earlier, this is a blanket term for this video. For example, I could say, "I move that we create bike lanes on all roads in the area." If the motion is seconded, the floor will be open to discussion. This is where people will point out the good and the bad of the proposal, likely leading to amendments. This can refer to any level of government. An amendment is proposed during discussion by saying, "I move to amend the proposal." Continuing with the bike lane example, someone could say, "I move to amend the proposal that we change the wording so it says all roads with a speed limit over 40 miles per hour instead of all roads." Again, this motion must be seconded. The floor would then move to discuss on the amendments of the proposal. Until the amendment either passes or fails, no discussion is allowed on the original proposal, which will be further discussed when speaking on calling to question. When requesting a vote on an amendment or proposal, a member of the assembly must first call the motion to question. Staying with the bike lane analogy, someone could say, "Mr. and Mrs. Chair, I move to call a question." If seconded, a vote will be held on whether or not to vote on the amendment to add bike lanes to roads only with a speed limit of 40 miles per hour or over. If it succeeds, voting begins. When voting, you have 3 choices. You can say "aye" or "yes" to the motion, or you can say "nay" or "no" to the motion. The third choice is to remain silent. Note that this is only used when using a voice vote, which is largely used at the local level. In state or federal Congress, an electronic voting system is often used. Should the ayes outvote the nays, the motion passes. If the nays have the majority, the motion fails. Let's say the amendment to the bike lane proposal succeeds. We can then call the original motion to question, repeating the voting process. However, there is more than a simple yes or no when dealing with the proposal, as we will see with tabling. Any member of Assembly, having received the floor from the chair, may move to table all further discussion on a proposal or amendment. Should the motion succeed, this means that the bill will not be discussed until a later time. To begin discussion again, someone must move to take the proposal off the table and receive a majority vote from the Assembly. In political terms, this is a method to potentially kill or silence a particular bill that is either in opposition to the majority or otherwise deemed unnecessary. This is because all tabled proposals are wiped at the end of the Assembly session. Division. This is a move you might see in politics and is important when there is a contested voice vote. The chair, by law, has the right to declare the vote in any which way they would like, even if it goes against the majority. To prevent the chair from making these types of decisions, a member of the Assembly may call for division. This motion does not need a seconding by another member and must be honored by the chair. The vote will be held again, but with hands instead of voices to signify support or opposition in local affairs, and the electronic vote will be used in state or federal Congress. As a wonderful example of division, here's a clip from a recent House session during debates on the Big Beautiful Bill Act.
Amendment to House Resolution 566, offered by Ms. Fox of North Carolina. At the end of the resolution, add the following. The previous question shall be considered as ordered on the motion to its adoption without intervening motion.
Gentlelady from North Carolina is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield back the balance of my time and move the previous question on the amendment and on the resolution.
The question is on ordering the previous question on the amendment on the resolution. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. Opinion of the chair, the ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker,
Gentleman from Massachusetts.
I ask for the yeas and nays and a hearing aid for you.
The yeas and nays are requested. Those favoring a vote by the yeas and nays will rise. Sufficient number having risen, the yeas and nays are ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. Pursuant to Clause 9 of Rule 20, this 15-minute vote on ordering the previous question will be followed by 5-minute votes on adoption of the amendment offered by the gentlelady from North Carolina, Ms. Fox, if ordered, and adoption of the resolution, if ordered. This is a 15-minute vote.
The vote would then go on for 8 hours. Recess. Finally, the playground of politics would be incomplete without a recess for all the Assembly members to enjoy. Any member of the Assembly can move for a recess for a specific amount of time. This can range anywhere from 10 minutes to several days depending on the situation. Before we get into an example of a motion, if you are enjoying this video, leave a like. If you want to see more, subscribe and turn on notifications to receive updates on when the next video is released. Now that we all know the major motions, let's run through the bike lane proposal one more time as it would play out in real life. Member of Assembly 1, MA1, raises their hand, requesting permission to speak. Mr. Chair, you have the floor. I move that we create bike lanes for all roads within our area. A second member of Assembly, MA2, seconds the motion. I second. The motion has been seconded. We will now move to discussion. Discussion begins with members of the Assembly speaking their minds about why the proposal is either good or bad. A third member of Assembly, MA3, requests permission to speak. Mr. Chair, you have the floor. We are out of order. You have the floor. I move that we amend the proposal to change the wording from all roads to all roads with a speed limit above 40 miles per hour. Second. The motion has been seconded. We will now move to discussion on the amendment. Discussion then begins on the amendment. I move to call the question. I second. We will now vote on ending discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Nay. Motion passes. We will now begin voting on the amendment. All those in favor of the amendment say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Nay. The amendment passes. We will now move to the original discussion. The fourth member of Assembly, MA4, feels as though the amendment is both bad and did not pass through the voice vote, so he will say, Division! Division has been called. We will move to re-vote on the amendment. Signify your support by raising your hand high. Yet again, the majority votes for the amendment. The amendment still passes. We will now return to the original proposal with the amendment now added. The fifth member of Assembly, MA5, finds the entire proposal frivolous and wants to try to kill the bill, or at the very least delay the vote. Mr. Chair, you have the floor. I move for this proposal to be put on the table until a later date. However, MA5 is so greatly in the minority that no one seconds the proposal. The motion fails. We will continue with discussion. Mr. Chair, you have the floor. I move to call the question. Second. Motion called to question. All those in favor of ending discussion say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Nay. The motion passes. The proposal to have bike lanes on all roads with a speed limit above 40 miles per hour is now law. Mr. Chair, you have the floor. I move for a 2-hour recess. The voting process is the same for recess as a proposal. We'll say the motion passes and everyone gets a break. And scene. Now I know that the full example is a lot and went pretty fast, but I will say from experience that it often goes a bit slower than that with discussion. This is a first step into what the legislature is like. Please leave your questions in the comments and I will be sure to either answer you there or in a future video. See you soon!